Initiating podcast download. Prepare yourself. Put on your spandex. Lace up your boots. Wrap your wrists. Hide your razor blade. Head to gorilla position. Grease up your hair. Apply baby oil. Okay, apply more baby oil. Get into gimmick. Keep your ears open and your mouth shut. Have fun and be safe out there, brother. Welcome to Iron on Wrestling. Now your host, Gregory Iron.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Iron on Wrestling with Gregory Iron. I'm your host, Gregory Iron. This is episode 286. And I'm still not fixed, but I'm feeling just fine. Good to see you, everyone. If you're listening on Patreon, patreon.com/Iron on Wrestling, where you got this podcast early, Monday night. That's like 2 days early. Hello to everybody over on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you download podcasts. Thanks for listening. If you want a buttload of bonus content and to support me while I'm trying to get fixed, of course referring to my bicep tendon injury that I'm recovering from, one of the greatest ways to do that is patreon.com/Iron Wrestling. $3 get you in the door. I actually have a $1 holla podcast where you can listen to for $1 if you like that. Maybe you upgrade to $3. Audio podcast in the archives, early extended bonus going all the way back to 2019, bonus videos. I just have created a YouTube series entitled Gregory Iron is Disarmed, documenting my journey while I recover from surgery, revisiting some old wrestling memories of mine, maybe even discussing some things with some old friends. I got something planned for this week that hopefully I'll have up sometime end of this week or next week. But you'll see it first on Patreon with outtakes, extended footage, all that good stuff. $9 to get live chats with me. $25 and up to get something in the mail every quarter. We'll be sending something out in the month of June. So patreon.com to support me. If you want to support me in other ways, GoFundMe. That's set up, linked in my bio over on my social media accounts. Everything is basically going to go to cover my bills until I can get back to work in the foreseeable future. Pro wrestling tees, all that good stuff. I've got tees myself if you need any. You can DM me directly. I have old gear. I got a buttload of stuff that I could sell you. But right now I'm selling you on a podcast, free of charge. That really doesn't make any sense. And today we're going to answer your questions from social media. Over on Patreon, we're going to go in depth about how the road to WrestleMania has picked up. We're going to talk about this past Monday's Raw, a little bit of SmackDown from Friday, maybe some other stuff in between, the John Cena, Cody Rhodes go-home segment. It's kind of the go-home segment if John Cena's not going to be on the show until WrestleMania. And, stuff that I want to get into before we talk questions. First and foremost, over on the $1 holla episode over on Patreon, which again is just $1 if you want to try out the podcast. One doll hair. We talked a lot about Dark Side of the Ring, Hell in a Cell, which I will also talk in depth about. The Ludwig Borga episode, which is airing this week, which I think, based on some of the scenes that made it to social media, it's going to be quite interesting. Especially, I feel like if you grew up a fan outside of, the 6 to 9 months that he was in the WWF and the Hasbro action figure, if you had that or know of it, you really don't know much else about Ludwig Borga. I think he did some UFC stuff. He was on some other shoot fighting type thing back in the day. He ended up getting into politics. But other than that, there's a lot that I don't know about, racist, idiotic Ludwig Borga. So it's going to be interesting to delve deeper into that story. But we also talked about the Linda Hogan video and Brooke Hogan's response of abuse allegations on the $1 Holla episode. And I just wanted to follow up with that. Basically, to sum it up, Linda went on to social media, looked like a train wreck, talked about how she had botched Botox, how she hadn't seen Brooke in like 8 years or met the twin girls that Brooke gave birth to, yada, yada, yada. Brooke made a statement on social media making accusations without naming Hulk or Linda of physical and emotional abuse. I talked in depth about my own personal experiences, comparing, contrasting, and, real sad situation. So to follow that up, Linda Hogan responded to Brooke's statement that she put on Instagram, and it reads as follows. This was posted, let's see, as I record this 3 days ago, so last Friday. Linda wrote, "Seems narcissism runs deep in this family. Brooke is narcissistic like her dad, going out spewing lies to everyone, and I'm supposed to defend my truth against that. I'm not about to do that. Seems to me that she doesn't want the truth being revealed to her new husband and his family about who she was and things in her past." She spelled husband Hisband. "I think I spanked Brooke once. Yeah, I called her a couple of names." She wrote that twice. "By no means ever treated her the way she's painting it. They had cell phones. She could have posted horrible things about me back when all of this was supposedly happening. But nothing she didn't because nothing was happening. But when she took her dad's side after the divorce and wrote the wonderful mom song and went to all the tabloids because Terry was using her as a tool, her memory is completely skewed about the treatment that she received growing up in her household, and you could talk to anybody. You can ask anybody. You can ask Terry that none of the stuff ever happened. It's her angle to keep her family away from her now, revealing who she used to be after drinking a half bottle of vodka. She was so drunk she broke my collarbone and cut my lip, and insisted everyone take her to the hospital because she was poisoned, and she wasn't. She was just drunk. There's many stories like that. I'm not going to go on, but I'm not going to defend myself against these ridiculous allegations. I'll do that in court if she keeps it up." So, first and foremost, again, she didn't name Linda specifically, but she alluded to Linda in terms of physical abuse growing up, and I'm sure mental abuse came with that. And Linda proclaims that she hasn't seen Brooke or whatever in years. And so after Brooke posted this statement and is very vulnerable and made it clear that she didn't want any problems, she wanted peace going forward. Despite that, and despite Linda's claims to want a relationship with her daughter, she makes a post like this, in no way apologizing or trying to come to terms with things she may or may not have done that could have profoundly affected her daughter. I think my favorite thing in here is her claiming that the kids had cell phones and they could have posted horrible things about her when all that stuff was supposedly happening, but nothing was happening, so nothing was posted. I didn't have a cell phone when I was a kid. I don't think I got my first cell phone until I was like 19. Cell phones were really just becoming a regular thing in like 2004, 2005 at the end of my high school career. If I had a cell phone, I don't think I would have posted things that were happening to me abusively. Like when it came to my mom, more so my dad, because I was with him later in life, and the abuse actually got more violent as I got older. Believe it or not, I wouldn't have posted those things, especially if I was under his roof. Why? Well, the abuse would get worse. One of the things that me and my brother joke about is when 696 Kids was a thing. When my dad was doing bullshit and whatever, we would always go, if you do this, if you hit me, whatever, I'll call 696 Kids. And there's unintentional hilarity in retrospect, but being a kid of the 90s and 2000s, his response would be, go ahead and call him. I'll dial the fucking number for you. So it's like, there was really no fear. And there was a situation when I was 19 where my dad beat the shit out of me. And it was severe enough to where the wound was so bad that I couldn't go to training. I just started training to be a wrestler because there was fear that I'd get a staph infection. It was so bad, and it was in my left arm, ironically, the arm that I'm struggling with right now, which is my good arm usually. I couldn't drive myself to the hospital. When he finally drove me there, I wasn't going to say anything. But then the doctors, the nurse or whatever that took me in the room, she asked me, so was this the first time you ever attempted to kill yourself? And I sat there befuddled, and I looked at her, and I said, what are you talking about? And she said, your father said you attempted to kill yourself. And the puncture wound was in my elbow, my left elbow. So I want you to visualize what my right hand looks like, stricken with cerebral palsy. I will inform you that there isn't much strength and force behind my right hand unless I'm throwing a gimp slap, which I don't do anymore, and that's mostly my wrist coming at you. But I can't really apply much pressure. So I explained that to the lady. But then I also followed that up with, if I was trying to kill myself, why would I stab myself in the elbow? So that's a real thing that happened. I got off track. Point is, when you're a kid being abused and you're under the abuser's roof, chances are you're not going to talk about it. Especially where it's in a public forum where that person can see it, because the abuse will probably escalate. And sometimes in abusive relationships, even as adults, when you're living under the same roof, it's hard to talk about the mental and physical abuse that's happening because you're afraid that it could escalate. So this is a very idiotic statement from Linda Hogan, in my humble opinion. And, clearly Linda Hogan is in a place where she does not want to assume responsibilities for the things that she may have done. She doesn't want to own up to her mistakes. And, it seems like this is the type of relationship she's going to have with her daughter going forward. In response to this response from Linda, Brooke had this to say. My mother absolutely did make false claims like she, quote, never met my husband and she doesn't even know what his name is, then deleted it. She said she hasn't spoken to me for a number of years, yet I have a picture with her and my husband together on a day we had lunch recently. I did not ask for this, nor did I even want to make a statement, but also couldn't let people continue to speak for me. My name is continuously brought up in the constant drama of my family. My past did not directly accuse anyone of the behaviors mentioned. My post did not directly accuse anyone of the behaviors mentioned. So if she's triggered by something, I think that speaks volumes. She is, however, making a serious accusation against me directly that has zero validity and that I take seriously. I have plenty of people who know the truth, and I know the truth, so I'm not afraid. I showed compassion for her in my post. At this point, I think her response says more about her than it does about me. That was that. Her husband made a post as well. I'm not going to read that. But I think somehow the worst part of all of this is Hulk Hogan himself responded to what's happening on social media between Brooke and Linda. And Hogan's post is him and his current wife eating popcorn, as if they are watching and enjoying the gossip. You would assume that is being shown between Brooke and Linda. And the caption for the post, though, says, getting ready for the new HH TV show coming soon. I don't think that's a real thing. When I saw this post, first of all, it's the most charisma, the most unforced charisma that Hulk Hogan has shown in years in this 15-second clip, which says a lot about who Hulk Hogan is. And every single day I'm coming to terms more and more with what a piece of shit Hulk Hogan is. It's pathetic. It's sad. You know, as mentioned in Brooke's original post, she also doesn't talk to Hulk. And I'm not saying that Hulk should have issued a statement or something. I wish none of these people would have issued any statements whatsoever. It seems unnecessary. It's like, you know, I understand when you're like a high-level public figure sometimes, like, you know, you kind of have to address these issues. I think it got to a point where Brooke had to address these issues. Linda didn't have to post a response. If she actually gave a shit about her daughter, she should have reached out to her daughter. If Hulk actually gives a shit about her daughter, his daughter, he should reach out to her. I hate when, like, you know, your average folks post when they break up or something. They have to make a statement like, please, respect our privacy during this time. It's like, dude, like, why are you posting this? You're making it worse. Like, respect your private. You just put all your publicity on blast. You know, I talk about this stuff sometimes on Patreon. You know, sadly, you know, me and my girlfriend have been broken up for a little bit. We're on good terms, but I'm not posting about it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to make a statement about it. She doesn't need to make a statement about it. It's fucking stupid. If people actually give a shit, if they want to be in each other's lives, they would actually make moves and changes for that to happen. I feel like I say this every week. I hate that Hulk Hogan was such a big part of my childhood because it's hard to reconcile. And I forget who I was talking with recently about all the Hulk Hogan stuff that I have and how it feels dumb to display it. And, you know, this is my friend Sarah, actually, now that I think about it. She said, well, you know, you got to separate the artist from the art. And I said, well, you know, I'd feel kind of weird right now if I walked into someone's house and they had a big, you know, P. Diddy tribute corner with a bunch of, you know, Puff dolls and posters and albums. And it just seems, you know, it would seem a bit weird considering everything that's happening. I don't know. It's the whole Hogan family is entirely pathetic, including, you know, Linda in her original statement made a remark about Nick being such a good boy. Nick almost fucking killed a kid, one of his best friends, and said a bunch of stupid shit about it that he thought was being said in private, but he was being recorded. It's just, what a fucking sad family. I hope every single one of them gets help. It seems like the only normal and sane one is Brooke, and she had to find that sanity by separating herself from the family. So I don't even know why I'm so angry about this, quite frankly. So let's just move on. We had to get that out of the way, but that was a follow-up from the bonus episode. You want to listen to that, like I said, $1 holla over on the Patreon, $1 to listen. Something else I want to talk about. The idea that the winner of the Royal Rumble gets a shot in the main event at WrestleMania for the title. This has to change. I don't know if you know this, but this is the first time in history that both the men's and the women's Royal Rumble winner are not main eventing the show. They are getting their title matches. Jey Uso will be wrestling Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. And Charlotte Flair will be wrestling for the Women's Championship in against Tiffany Stratton. But neither of those will close the show. Actually, you know what? This isn't the first time. I'm thinking about in my mind to try to retrace the steps of the first times that a Royal Rumble winner did not main event WrestleMania. You go back to the 2018 Royal Rumble, which was the first time that there was both a men's and a women's Royal Rumble. Both Shinsuke and Asuka did not close WrestleMania, and that was still when WrestleMania was one night. You can go all the way back to, you think this is more of a modern thing where, they structure cards a little differently. Sometimes they'll put a gimmick match on first. Sometimes they'll put a heavyweight championship match on first to start the show really hot. But you can go all the way back to 1995, which was the first time that a Royal Rumble winner who would get a title shot and the guaranteed main event at WrestleMania did not main event WrestleMania. That year, the show ended with Bam Bam Bigelow versus Lawrence Taylor. Shawn Michaels, the winner of the Royal Rumble, who was the first man to enter number one, go all the way to the end, he wrestled Diesel for the WWF Championship, but it did not close the show. It was semi-main. In more modern WWE, you think back to, and when I say modern, geez, you still have to go back 20 years. I believe the next time that the winner of the Royal Rumble did not close the show would have been WrestleMania 22. We're talking Rey Mysterio when he, won the 2006 Rumble for Eddie Guerrero in his honor. He wrestled in that triple threat match with Angle and Orton, did not close the show. The closing match was John Cena versus Triple H. Undertaker, 2007 Royal Rumble winner, did not close the show. Him and Batista were on earlier, and that was a pretty good WrestleMania match. Shawn Michaels and John Cena closed that WrestleMania. John Cena, who was the face of WWE, roughly from 2005 all the way up until, 2023, really, when Cody Rhodes sort of took that lead and became the main guy in the company. He's only main evented like 5 WrestleManias. 2008 is when he made that miraculous return from a torn bicep, I believe. And he came back in like 3 months and shocked everybody. Did not main event WrestleMania. WrestleMania 24, where he wrestled Orton and Triple H. That show was headlined by Edge and Undertaker, which I think was very deserving. First time Edge main evented WrestleMania. A great Undertaker match, one that I think falls under the radar sometimes. You could name a bunch more, but it's just like, can we just change the verbiage? You're not guaranteed the closing match at WrestleMania. It's been solidified as of this past Friday. CM Punk is going to have his first main event at WrestleMania. Him, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, triple threat match. It's going to close night one. I hope they add a big stipulation to that. At the very least, I think the favor is going to come into play because we need something. We need some sort of hook for that closing match of the show. I mean, it'll be incredible no matter what. The closing match for night 2, of course, is going to be Cody Rhodes and John Cena. So, I mean, come on. Let's just, all you got to do is say the winner of the Royal Rumble is guaranteed a championship match at WrestleMania. Back in the day, there was still, before the Elimination Chamber, there was still the chance that at the February pay-per-view, No Way Out, there was going to be some sort of obstacle where maybe you'd had to put your guaranteed title shot on the line. But in general, you're pretty much guaranteed your title shot. No one's going to be able to take that away. But the main event, that could easily be taken away. Jey Uso, the fan reception of him closing the show has been up and down. There was that big slip-up dive last week. That was such a big deal that Triple H was smart enough to incorporate a slip-up before the spear to kind of have Jimmy address it in storyline and kind of go, hey, man, what's wrong with you? You messed up that dive. You lost your footing before the spear. This ain't like you. You're not yourself. Very, very intelligent IQ that Triple H has. So let's just change the verbiage going forward, please. For the love of God. Big shout out to listener of the show, Patreon member Dean Chard, my brother in arm, cerebral palsy like myself. I heard a little birdie told me that he just signed the contract for his new housing situation, in his homeland of the UK. Congratulations to him. his CP is a little bit more severe than mine, so he's in a wheelchair. And the fact that he's getting to live on his own and be in his own place is a big step in the right direction. So I just wanted to give him a big shout out. And, before we take a break and pay some bills, I want to, one more time, I know I've been doing it every week, big shout out to everybody that's been donating to the GoFundMe, sending me care packages, well wishes, comments of positivity. I want you guys to know that it is humbling, and you make me feel so loved, and the burden of not worrying about how I'm going to pay the majority of my bills for the next few months, boy, is that a lifesaver. I spent the last week, literally 7 days straight, working on rewriting, editing, fixing the grammar on the first chapter of my book. Yeah, I know since 2019 when I started the show, I talked about writing a book. I know 2 years ago I talked about I was almost done writing my book. It wasn't even close. I'm a perfectionist. And sometimes, I don't give myself the benefit of the doubt. I'm too hard on myself. For the first time in the history of me trying to write this thing, when I was done with it, I was proud of it, and I was happy with it. You know why? I stopped thinking about, well, who am I writing this for? And maybe I shouldn't be so detailed and descriptive because I want it to appeal to everybody. You know what? If the book is good, people are going to read it, and it's going to appeal to people. I want it to be authentically me. I want it to be my weird-ass voice with my dumb jokes and sometimes dark humor. And I think this first chapter kind of captures that, explains what pro wrestling is for the uninitiated. And I'm motivated. And if I'm going to be sitting at home for the next, at the very least, 3 months, and then following that, probably 3 to 4 months more, while I'm regaining my arm strength, I'm going to be so fucking active as far as making shit happen to where I don't look back at this time down and out as time down and out. I'm going to look at it as an opportunity to grow, to change, to better myself, not just for me, but for others. And I want others to benefit from this time. The best way that I could pay you guys back right now for all you're doing is to give you something tangible, something that can motivate and inspire you. And I hope that, you guys come here every week for my stories and my bullshit and my thoughts on things, which, how weird is that? But if the experiences of my life can give you something to push forward in yours, then I don't know. That's what this world is all about, is giving back, helping each other, happiness and helpfulness, right? Picking others up when they can't find the strength to hold themselves up. That's what you guys have done for me, and that's what I want to do for you. So, I'm done rambling. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to take your questions from social media with Patreon, getting first dibs. We'll be right back here on Iron on Wrestling. Hey, are you on your health and wellness journey? Well, good. Then you should check out tnt-health.com. Oh, you're not on a health and wellness journey right now? You'd like to be, but life is overwhelming. You just can't stay focused. You don't have anybody to help guide you. You have no idea what you're doing. Well, great, because tnt-health.com can help you. Whether you're on your journey right now or you want to get started on the journey, tnt-health.com is the place that you want to go. Mike and the good folks over at TNT Health have everything you need to get in the best shape of your life. They've got fat burners, muscle building supplements, protein, pre-workout, pro hormones, post-workout, and everything in between. Right now, Mike has been keeping up with me as far as helping me with my muscle recovery and my shoulder injury, my pec tendon injury. I've been using his protein powder, the organic protein powder, vanilla cream, which I can mix with anything. Sometimes I do just the vanilla cream protein with a banana. Sometimes I throw in a couple Oreos for additional carbs. The vanilla mixes with anything, so it's perfect. Creatine for my pre-workout when I was doing that, but obviously I'm not doing it right now because I'm not lifting, but I can promise you the pre-workout is great. For your post-workout, you're going to want to use the glutamine. As far as pre-workout, need a little bit of a buzz. You need some caffeine. He's got a Zoom pre-workout over there that I like using. Boom, boom, zoom, zoom in the room when you're lifting. And, I know that Aaron was experimenting with some of the SARMs that they have over on the TNT-health.com website. Great thing is, Mike's not only going to sell you supplements, he's going to sell you results. And he knows no one is perfect, so if you stray off the path, he's only looking for 70-80% of results, and he's going to help you with your macros, how much protein you should be taking in daily, how much you weigh and how many calories you should be taking in, your carbohydrates. Those things are incredibly important. You can't outtrain a shitty diet, and Mike helps you in the diet department as well. So what the hell are you waiting for? TNT-health.com. It's free to look. But if you buy anything, you can use our promo code IRONON, IRONON, and you'll save 10% on anything you buy. TNT-health.com. It's about your health today, not tomorrow. Listen, I know we just went past April Fool's Day, right? April 1st. But what I'm about to say is no joke. Juan Ortiz wants to knock $20 off any design you commission from him. Yes. Juan Ortiz and Of the Dead Designs, who have been in the industry of artwork making, creating for over 20 years, want to make something for you to make your life better. Perhaps to make the life better for someone you know and love. A family member, a friend, a confidant. Perhaps you have a small business, a big business you're looking to start. You need a logo. Well, guess what? Of the Dead Designs is willing to make anything and everything happen for you. They've made some of the most prominent and prolific designs for so many top-tier wrestlers within the industry. Name someone from WWE, AEW, TNA, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Ring of Honor. The list goes on and on. Juan Ortiz and Of the Dead Designs has probably made artwork for them. Do your research. Maybe you should go to their social media account and check out the people that they've made designs for, because I don't need to name them all. Perhaps maybe you should check out Hot Topic, where you can see some of Juan's designs. Okay? Maybe you should figure out the wrestlers that he's made designs for and see that his artwork ended up on their action figures. He's the real deal, and he can make you be the real deal. Maybe with a little bit of sex appeal. What are you waiting for? Go to social media right now. Follow Juan Ortiz and Of the Dead Designs at Of the Dead Designs. Go to their Facebook, facebook.com/ofthedeaddesigns. Give them a like, or go to the website, ofthedead.weebly.com. Tell them Iron on Wrestling sent you, and you'll save $20, which means you can get 4 mustache sniffings from an alpaca, or, I mean, you could just save $20 in general and put it towards, food or starting a college fund for your children. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. Juan Ortiz and Of the Dead Designs are here to bring your artwork to life. All right, so we're back, and we're going to answer your questions from social media, with Patreon getting priority. So where do we begin? Should we just get Eric's questions out of the way, seeing as he has the most insane and dumbest questions possible? I mean, Eric, I've got a question for you, okay? Have you ever asked a legitimate question? Please, let me know. I'm dying. I'm dying to know. Eric says, what's the favorite Bar Louie memories? Bar Louie, I think there's one by Crocker Park. Yes, there is. Okay, well, I don't know why you're asking this. Is Bar Louie in the news? Is Bar Louie a chain? Okay, you're asking this because Bar Louie is going through bankruptcy. Okay, so there is a Bar Louie about 25 minutes from me. You know what my favorite Bar Louie memory is? Doing security for and around Bar Louie. I used to be a security guard in my 20s, early 20s, at Crocker Park in Westlake, Ohio. So it's like an outdoor mall. Doesn't really directly involve Bar Louie, but my favorite memory was getting fired from that job. Do you know how I got fired from that job? Well, when I was supposed to be doing security detail, I noticed that one of the within the outdoor mall, they have a bunch of apartments attached to it, and in the upstairs area, during the seasons, some of the local sports teams, they rent out these nice high-end apartments or condos from Crocker Park. So you'll have Guardians baseball players, Cavaliers, Browns, etc., staying in these places. There's a little gym inside one of the facilities. And while I was supposed to be patrolling, which, when I tell you this, it's absurd because I'm in a security guard outfit. It's not like I'm going to change or anything. I decided that maybe it would be a good idea. I was like, I haven't got my cardio in today, so I'm going to go in here. I'm just going to start doing some cardio. So I got on the elliptical, and I just started doing things on the elliptical. And again, I'm in a bright yellow polo shirt, khaki pants, and it's not like this is like a closed-off facility. When you're doing cardio, there's like a big open window where you can see inside the people doing cardio. And as I'm doing the cardio, another security guard, one of my superiors, walks by, watching me, watching him as I do cardio. That's how I got fired. So I guess that's my favorite Bar Louie adjacent memory, since I never really had gone inside a Bar Louie. So there it is for you, Eric. Let me answer one more Eric question that might potentially be an actual question. I'm not seeing. Oh, okay. Do you use dipping sauce for your Little Caesars pretzel crust pizza? Yes, the pretzel crust pizza as of March 31st has returned, and it was one of the greatest moments of my life. I, of course, ordered on day one, enjoyed a pretzel crust pizza while I watched Monday Night Raw, which was on an earlier start time, which means I could get fat between 4 and 6 p.m., eat my last meal of the day at 8 p.m., which was a shake, and now I'm just going to fast for the next 12 to 16 hours and keep my calories low, and I don't really have to worry too much about, gaining the weight while I'm not being so active because of my injury. That being said, no, I don't use a dipping sauce. Is it common for people to use dipping sauce when they're eating a pizza? I don't need to dip my pizza in anything. That's like, to me, whatever I'm going to put on the pizza is going to be on the pizza. I don't need to dip it in something. That would be like putting ketchup on steak, or like, a bunch of hot sauce on a steak. Like, it's killing the flavor. Or I'm putting another flavor on that's unnecessary. Why would I want to ruin the pizza with something else? If I wanted some sort of sauce, I would eat like a pasta. What are we doing here, Eric? Come on. Let's see what else we got here. Josh Eklund said, who better than Canyon? Not many. Canyon, very innovative for his time. I think he was very underrated member of the Alliance. Probably his association with DDP, and DDP not being in the best standings at the time with the company. And when I say that, it's like, he was kind of he was given a bad gimmick from the get-go. At the time, I don't think Taker was too crazy about him. They seem to be on good terms now. And Vince, after they initially met, that being Vince and DDP gave him a hug instead of a handshake, his goose was kind of cooked. So, him and Canyon were, as a tag team, you forget they were tag team champions during the Invasion. They were kind of treated like dog shit. And, of course, we got some dark matches with Canyon as Mortis. And then the last time we ever saw him on TV, I'm pretty sure, is when he did that segment with The Undertaker, where he came out of the box dressed like Boy George. Taker really KO'd him with that chair. Real fucked up situation. But, yeah, not a lot better than Canyon. Josh Excellence also asks, have you ever been to a Chuck E. Cheese or a Showbiz Pizza? Yeah, of course I've been to a Chuck E. Cheese. One time, again, in my 20s, I was a security guard. I worked security at the Parmatown Mall. Now, I don't know if you guys know this about security guards, but 99% of us, while we're there to serve and protect the facility, we're paid money for that, we actually can't do jack shit. So, like, if you steal in front of me, I cannot chase you. I cannot tackle you. I don't have any weapons. I'm really, paid to be fucking useless and just look like a complete moron. So one time, I was actually called to the Chuck E. Cheese in the plaza in Parmatown Mall because there was a man with a gun at the Chuck E. Cheese. So I called the police, but then I had to head down to the Chuck E. Cheese to wait for the police. I had to go inside and wait for the police. I will have you know that I took my sweet ass time getting down in the Chuck E. Cheese, because what the fuck am I gonna do with an armed robber or whatever he was doing with a gun inside the Chuck E. Cheese? I don't have anything to defend myself, and I'm not risking my life to get shot in the goddamn Chuck E. Cheese, which, by the way, there's been a long-standing rumor that at the Chuck E. Cheese, they reuse pizza. I can't confirm this, but there's a lot of research and data that shows that they may reuse pizza. Like when you order a big tray of pizza and all the kids don't eat it, they take the pizza that wasn't eaten and then they put it all together and make a new pizza. It's a big conspiracy theory on the internet, okay? Anyways, I took my time going to the Chuck E. Cheese, and by the time I got there, the situation was already taken care of. But fast forward like a month later, because I had reported that there was an incident with a gunman at the Chuck E. Cheese, I got a $100 bonus in my pay. So suck it, okay? But also, am I the one? I'm the one that's really sucking it, because they thought that I got there like in, peak time and were willing to give me $100 for it. But also, they thought that I was actually going to risk my life without being armed with any sort of weaponry, like not even mace or anything. And so they thought, you know what, we should give this guy, for his courageous efforts, $100. Like, fuck off. I used to go to Chuck E. Cheese a lot back in the day. I don't even know what Showbiz Pizza is. You're going to have to explain this to me. Chuck E. Cheese, peak Chuck E. Cheese for me is when they had animatronics. I think some people are creeped out by that sort of stuff, but I loved it. There was something by me called... it was based on Chuck E. Cheese. It was called Mark's Funtime Pizza. So it was an extension of a place that we have, chain place called Mark's Discount Store. So this guy, Mark Glassman, I actually worked at Mark's. I don't know why all these things that are being referenced, I somehow had a job there. You go through a lot of jobs when you're young and you're a pro wrestler. But Mark's, attached to it, had a place called Funtime Pizza Palace, where they too basically stole the business model of your Chuck E. Cheese's, and I think they're around from like the early 80s until like 2002, 2003, and they had animatronics like a fucking cheetah and a panda. I'm trying to think of like what else they had. Probably a big bird. I know Mike, not like Big Bird, but like I know Mark Glassman was a fan of the birds. Okay, he had a bunch of birds. I'm looking up actually Charlie Cheese's Pizza Playhouse, which it's listed as Showbiz Pizza, and it looks like Chuck E. Cheese. It looks like a bootleg Chuck E. Cheese. Now I got to look into the backstory. Like, it literally looks like they stole the costumes and just renamed it Charlie Cheese's Pizza Playhouse Showbiz Pizza. I'm very intrigued. So yeah, Mark's Funtime Pizza. Look that up. There's pictures of some animatronics. I don't know if they have any videos or anything, but it was a thing that I went to a time or two as a child, and I was not creeped out by those things. Were you creeped out by any of that? Comment below or let me know on social media if you're creeped out by the animatronics. Okay, actually, one more from Eric Phillips. This is kind of actually a wrestling question. Again, I know he's being sarcastic, but favorite Ludwig Borga match or memory you had with him? Okay, you know for a fact that I never met Ludwig Borga. I mean, I guess the only big memory one would have of Ludwig Borga is obviously, if you were watching around that time frame, it was when he defeated Tatanka to end his streak. That was a big deal. Tatanka had gone undefeated from the end of 1991 until 1993. 2 years. And the guy never became Intercontinental Champion. I guess the only other one that would stick out in my mind is that Ludwig Borga was he was on the Foreign Fanatics team for the 1993 Survivor Series, and he came down, him and Luger, as the final two in that main event. So, many people won't even remember that Borga was a guy in the company, but he's kind of sort of main evented Survivor Series 1993 with him and Lex Luger when he was doing the USA thing. I think, let me go to Wikipedia real quick. Wow. I'm curious to see. He did some stuff in New Japan Wrestling, which I didn't realize. I guess that makes sense. Did he do indies at all? He was in the UWF? Wow. The Viking. Okay. I got to look into some of this shit. I'm sure we'll figure that stuff out on when they do Dark Side of the Ring as we record this tomorrow night. Look for that as a bonus again over on Patreon. Just the fact that he had a tattoo, not the SS tattoo, which is disgusting that he had that. But he was such a homophobe that he had a lower back tattoo, a tramp stamp that said exit only above his ass cheeks. What has to happen in someone's life that they have to let everyone know that, hey, you can't try to anally assault me. Look at this tattoo. Uncle Bobby says, good memories of all your time in pro wrestling. What are some of your favorites? Man, in nearly 18 years of pro wrestling, I've had a lot of incredible memories, right? And as I try to document my post-surgery recovery, and I look back on some of the stuff that I did, some of the stuff that I've never watched, some of the stuff that I haven't watched in a long time, I realize how fortunate I am. But I think an easy answer, the best memories, my favorite memories about wrestling has been the people that I've met and the friendships that I made, because it wasn't until I became a wrestler that it solidified that I was a weirdo, but it was nice to know that I wasn't alone in being a weirdo when it became to this weird wrestling obsession and memorization of facts and figures and statistics, this nerdy fandom that I have for the sport. I met a bunch of like-minded individuals, and then beyond the wrestling aspect, a handful of these guys had the same sense of humor that I had. There was a camaraderie that I never felt really with anybody as a kid growing up. So it took me, at the very least 18 to 19 years to find people that I felt truly comfortable around, that kind of understood the passion that I had for wrestling. And I think passion is a universal language. I've said that before, but it really is. If you find someone that shares the passion that you do and you can bond over that, there's nothing better. There's nothing more fulfilling than that. And so, I think when it comes to memories, the friends that I have because of wrestling, those are irreplaceable. Let's see, who else do we have from Patreon? Juan Ortiz. He says, what would you put on a generic promo bingo card? For me, I think, and I know I've done it, I know I do it occasionally. I think a very basic, generic thing to say, it's almost like a crutch, like, probably like I say like a lot. I hate when guys say, you see, because very rarely when I talk in life, I never stop dramatically and follow a sentence with, follow it up by starting with, well, you see. It's weird. So I try not to say it because it's just not normal speak to me. A normal human wouldn't say, you see. I don't know. But in the broader terms of like indie wrestling, can't stress this enough. Stop. Indie wrestlers, stop doing promos where you started out by saying this Sunday, this Saturday, this Friday. So insert date here, insert the day here. Name the show, name the venue, name how many tickets have been sold. Like every fucking generic possible thing you could list off. Stop doing that. It's horrible. Whatever you're going to say after that, I'm kind of already out of the promo. There are other ways to organically, if you have to fit that stuff in, or a couple of those things in, you can organically do that. Do it like a normal conversation. Talk like a person. I mean, just find your voice. Figure out who you are first as a human, right? The things that you understand. Take some of those things that you understand as a human being and make that a part of your character. Then put a magnifying glass on that, right? But make sure it doesn't have to be you. It just has to be something you understand, even if it's like something you witnessed in your life, someone you were around. I like to think that I'm good at observation humor, people watching. And so there are things that people do, cadences, mannerisms that I could pick up on. If you can channel those things, if you begin to understand those things from watching other people, and you can parlay them into doing something creatively, creating a persona from it, then do it. But make sure you get it. Because if you don't get what you're doing and you're just saying shit and you don't believe it, then no one else is going to believe it. I mean, I feel like you hear this all the time from successful wrestlers, and I'm only mildly successful at best. But the thing that makes me mildly successful is that I want to make sense out of this shit, right? Again, wrestling is creating logic out of the illogical. You need to create believability out of the unbelievable. We need to suspend disbelief. As a pro wrestler, my number one job is to distill logic out of the absurdity, because wrestling is fucking absurd. So just keep those things in mind. So stop naming time, date, place, location, etc. Because if you could edit a promo yourself, you could insert graphics that say that stuff on the screen. Or if the promotion is inserting graphics, they could just put that on the fucking graphic at the end, or somewhere in the beginning, or somewhere in the lower third. I mean, it's pretty simple. Thank you for your question, Juan. You got me pissed off. Kale from Patreon's not going to help any better, because his question is the following. I have a friend who is an independent professional wrestler, and sometimes he tells me that he has specific call times or arrival times for shows. There is one promotion that he works for that the show is commonly at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, and he is asked to be at the building no later than 3. What are your thoughts on early call times for pro wrestling shows? Okay. I have no problem with early call times for indie wrestling shows if there is a good reason for me to be to the building 4 to 4.5 hours before call time. Because, okay, if I'm a local guy, maybe I can get to the building early. But also, what am I doing? What is the reasoning behind you as a promoter telling me to get to the show 4.5 hours early? Am I taking pictures? Am I doing promos? Am I doing one of those things? Am I doing more than one of those things? How many people are going to be taking the promo pictures and doing the promos? Like, who's filming them? How long do you think this is going to take? Blah, blah, blah. Not everybody is one take. Even so, even if it's just one of those things or both of those things, I don't know if it requires me to be there 4 hours early. Okay? If I'm doing a match, or if the promoter specifically says, hey, I'd like you to get there a little early just in case you need to work through something in the ring, which very rarely is a thing with me anymore because I'm older. There's not a lot of new things I'm trying. I could usually walk through those things in the back. I don't want to get to the venue more than 2 hours before the show. And sometimes even that is pushing it for me because I'm at the point where I could probably be there if I don't really have to do promo pics or promos. I can confidently say I could show up like 90-ish minutes before the show, set up a table, get dressed, and plan a match with someone. A good match. Like, not just something like that I'm phoning in, because I don't do that, but like an actual good structured match because I know what I'm doing. I'm confident in what I'm doing. I know how to take my puzzle pieces and connect them with someone else's puzzle pieces to, create a great picture. Even if the puzzle pieces are vastly different, you take those differences and you make them somehow fit seamlessly, right? I think that I became more confident in that when I used to do wrestling shows for a place called Rockstar Pro on Wednesday nights in Dayton, Ohio. The situation was that every Wednesday, Chad, who ran the promotion, great guy, I would tell him oftentimes I'd be coming from work, which I wouldn't get out until 4 p.m. Dayton is roughly 3 hours from me. The bell time for these shows would be 7:30. So, if I got out of work on time at 4 o'clock, I could get to the building without stopping, obviously, by like 7-ish o'clock. Sometimes, though, you'd hit rush hour traffic going through towards the Dayton area. So then that would set me back sometimes until bell time, sometimes a little after. I would tell Chad this. I would remind him every week, and it never failed. It always seemed like Chad was putting me on first or second on the show, to where I had to have go-to spots or moves or gaga that I would do because I knew that when I got to the building, I was getting dressed and I was basically going to the ring. So sometimes I'd be in situations where I'm walking through the door, the show's happening, I've got 10 minutes. I don't think it ever got any closer than that. But yeah, I would have 10, 15 minutes to like get dressed, plan a match, and go to the ring. So I think that a situation where my back was kind of up against the wall with that, with like the pressure on, no time, I think that made me a better performer long term because it took the edge off. You often hear these stories about these guys that get to the shows early and are going through a 5, 8, 10, 15-minute match for 3 or 4 hours before they even go out to the ring. I don't want to do that. I want to go through some stuff in the match, piece it together, make sure we got it down a couple times, overthink some of the things that could go wrong, come back, talk to that person, make sure we're on the same page about it, talk about it one more time before we go to the ring, and then just do it. And sometimes that's not even necessary to do it that many times. But that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I don't want to, there's no reason. Unless you have TV that you're taping. So multiple weeks of promos, multiple weeks of angles to set up, pictures, advertising to do. Unless you're having me do some sort of meet and greet or media, I don't want to be fucking sitting in the venue for 4 hours. Because there's been so many times where I've been asked to come 3-4 hours early to a venue to sit there, where all the other guys are showing up late as fuck, way past call time, like 90 minutes before the show, 2 hours before the show, and I've just been sitting there, and there's no food, there's no water. What the fuck am I doing here? It's stupid. So, 4 hour call time, a little excessive. If you're starting your show at 7:30, I think you should tell guys to comfortably, I think a comfortable time is 5 to 5:30. If you don't have television or multiple weeks of streaming you're doing, I think that's totally acceptable. That was a long way to get to the answer there, but thank you, Kale, for that question. All right, let's see. Michael Kinch over on Facebook says, what wrestlers that have passed on would you have loved to have dream matches with, and how is your recovery? Well, my recovery is, it is what it is. I'm just, getting used to everything. I do miss having one functioning arm. It was funny, my friend Sarah did say to me this past week, well, maybe, do you feel like without the use of the left arm, it's forcing you to use the right arm, like more than you would have thought, like in a positive way? Do you know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, I know what you mean, but no, not at all. Like, just, it's like, and I went to grab a bag. Like, I can grab this fucking bag of pretzels with my right hand, but it takes me, 45 seconds to an additional minute to do it. It's more inconvenient than anything else. If I just had one good hand where I could grab it in 2 seconds, that'd be great. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm going to name a name from the past, a realistic name that could have happened had he still been alive as far as dream matches. I think Trent Acid was very, very good, and we lost him way too soon. He was very versatile. It would have been cool to work with and learn from a guy like Trent. I don't know if I would have ever considered a dream match, but he's not around. It would be a dream for it to happen, and I always heard good things about him, considering some of the deathmatch guys that I've managed to have good matches with over the years, like your Matt Tremonts, your Nick Gages. I feel like I could have maybe had some chemistry with Brain Damage. I always heard that there was something special about him, and it would have been cool to, have a match with him. That would have been a good thing. So those might be random ones, but I think those are pretty solid choices. Larry Sweeney. That was a match that was supposed to happen when I was younger, never did. Probably for the best that it didn't, because I would have sucked when we had it in like 2008 or 2009. So I think Larry Sweeney would have been tops as far as dream matches, especially considering how fond I am of, comedy wrestling, comedic timing, gaga, those sort of things. So, yeah, let's see. Josh Excellent says, what are you eating these days? Just chicken and green beans mostly. Trying to keep my calories low because I know I'm not as active right now. So a lot of chicken, green beans, and rice. Probably trying to keep that to around 300-ish calories a meal. Sometimes I'll eat a protein bar in a day. That's a couple hundred calories. Sometimes I will have some like Fruity Pebbles type protein cereal, or like some Lucky Charms type protein cereal, which will put me around 400-ish calories in a sitting. Once a week, I'm having a little bit of pretzels at night, but I'll keep my calories a little lower when I do that. It's just one of those things with being a 38-year-old man, especially one that currently can be active. I have to be conscious of what my body is taking in calorie-wise and just adjust accordingly. For the first week, I wasn't really even getting my steps in, but I'm back to getting in like 10,000 steps a day. I'm not leaving the house because I'm paranoid that I'm going to trip outside and break my fucking arm. So I can't do that. So I just basically walk around in circles from my kitchen to my living room. I'm not going to get on my treadmill, again, for fear of falling down. So that's kind of where my diet is right now. James Caputo says, who's been your favorite person to work with thus far? I mean, again, this is always an easy answer. Like when you think about the people that you love working with, it's usually the people you're friends with. So that's who you're going to have the best chemistry with. So your Garganos, your M-Dogs, Bobby Beverly, who just stopped by the house and is in the latest edition. The first episode of Gregory Iron is Disarmed briefly. I think me and Bobby, if you look on YouTube, find some of our old matches, me and Bobby had great chemistry. I remember we had a really great match at AIW back in the day. I'm sure if I saw it now, I would nitpick it and think it sucked. But we had great matches in Pro Wrestling Ohio over the years. And then for everything to come full circle and to find myself teaming with him, I think he has, he's being known, he's gaining his notoriety as a deathmatch performer, but I think he has a really great mind for wrestling and match structure. And I think Bobby, he could be very underrated in that regard. As I record this, he's in the other room doing stuff, so he's going to hear this, so I'm not doing this on purpose, but, I think I have surprisingly good chemistry with my brother, Zach. It's been a pleasure teaming with him, and, he's super athletic, and it's nice that I can be there to kind of help with the fine-tuning of everything, and some of the stuff that I wish that I could do athletically, I can kind of call that for him or give it to him, knowing that, I can't do it. If I could, I would do this. So let the more athletic person do that. So it's nice to have that chemistry in that regard as well. And then, of course, anybody that I could do comedic stuff with, RJ City, Hobo Joe. Me and Anthony Green weren't always comedy, but me and him had some good comedy spots. Even me and Zach Gowen had some good comedy stuff that we did that would always pop the crowd, like Twin Magic we would do, where I would get, so the spot is I'm legal, I get stomped out by both the bad guys on the other team. Obviously one is legal, one is not. The ref pushes away the illegal man, puts him back in his corner. The bad guy in the ring continues to stomp me. The ref gets him off of me because I'm by the ropes. Hey, stop stomping him. While that's happening, back is turned. Zach Gowen switched spots with me. While I was getting beat up in the spot, I strategically sell with my bad hand up. And it's crooked. It's the hand kind of sticks up and out. And so Zach switched spots. The bad guy comes back over and goes to start stomping Zach. And he goes, hey, that's not Greg Iron. And obviously Zach is clearly missing a leg. So then when that happens, crowd takes a second to register that. Zach lets it register, and then he would pop up one hand up in the air crooked just so he could pretend he's me. When that happens, I've already slid in from behind. I spin the guy around. I start punching him. We run a quick double team. Boom, take him out. The other bad guy comes back in the ring. We do a double team on them. Boom, we're cleaning house real quick, and it's fun stuff. So, yeah, man, I'm lucky that my chemistry has a broad spectrum. I can pretty much make anything work with anybody, but with my friends, it's working out best. Eric Von Dyke says, what are the best wrestling refs of all time? I hope Brad Maddox makes the list. I don't think he's going to make the list, but, I think the easy answers are Earl Hebner. He's the one I grew up on. I would say Charles Robinson's got to be one of the GOATs, right? I'm not doing a Mount Rushmore because then I can only pick four because there's so many. And I think refs are very underrated. Jimmy Corderas, I've had the pleasure of having him as a ref, watching him ref close up. And, he was in the WWE for so long. Jimmy Corderas is one of the all-time greats. Tommy Young. Tommy Young was a great one back in the NWA. Mike Chioda is an all-timer. I feel bad. Bandito Jr., he's in WWE right now. I forget his actual ref name, but I worked with him in the Super 8 back in 2012. the famous ECWA Super 8, and he does a tremendous job as a referee. Jessica Carr, she does a great job. I did some shows with her when she was an indie wrestler back in the day, and to see how she's grown, refereed so many WWE title matches now at this point. It's really cool to see the success of your peers. So, oh boy. Let's see. Peter from Patreon. Come on, man. Wawa or Sheets? You know the answer to that. Sheets all day, but shh. Wawa has better shakes. Don't tell anybody I said that. Josh Excellence from Patreon says, is it ever confusing as to what to call other wrestlers you're friends with that have gone by other names? Examples, Cherry Bomb, Allie, Bunny, Laura. Is it just kind of whatever you first knew them as? So, to preface this, one of the first examples of being like, well, geez, like what do wrestlers call other wrestlers? I remember when I read Mankind's that came out in 99, a lot of people referred to him as Jack or Cactus because, a lot of the guys met him when he was younger and he was Cactus Jack. So they called him either Jack or Cactus. And I remember thinking like, no, we don't call him that. His name's Mankind. He's Mankind. You don't call Mick Jack or Mick. You call him Mankind. Duh, that's his name right now. When you become a wrestler, it varies. For example, the one you gave, Laura. Sometimes if I'm hanging out with her, I'm going to call her Laura. I think I more often than not refer to her as Cherry because I knew her as Cherry Bomb. So sometimes, like when talking current events, it was hard for me to say Allie or the Bunny because it was weird to me because I know her as Cherry Bomb or Cherry. Like for a long time, like Ricochet, I would call Ricochet. But then once I got friendlier with him, it became Trevor. When Brodie Lee went to WWE and he was Harper, everyone still called him Brodie. No one's calling him Luke Harper, because we knew him as Brodie. He was Brodie to us. For a long time, I called Veda. But then as we got closer in our friendship, it became Lindsay or Linz. So, it just depends. And some guys have preferences. Again, for me personally, everybody calls me Greg, right? It's when someone calls me Gregory, I know that they're not my actual friend. Either they just met me as a wrestler or they're a wrestling fan. So, like, especially if I'm out in public, if I hear someone yell Gregory, I'm like, oh no. like it's someone I may or may not want to talk to. And like, I don't want to make that sound wrong. Like, I want to give time for all the fans and everything, right? But, I never know what to expect. And I'm socially awkward at times too, because like, you're probably going to give me a compliment, which I appreciate, but sometimes I don't know how to react to those things because I'm still like, for me, it's me, right? And I don't know I can accept compliments, but I don't know how to react. Or sometimes, someone they're a fan of me because of, me doing what I do with a disability, and they're like, oh yeah, like I have cerebral palsy too. And I go, oh, cool. And then I'm like, wait, but is it cool? It's like, should it be cool that you're disabled? Like, I don't know what to say. I'm a weirdo. So, yeah, there's a difference. If you're my friend, you call me Greg. If not, you're just going to be shouting Gregory. So if you want to pretend you're my friend, you listen to this podcast, call me Greg, and I'll probably think that I've known you for years. All right. There's some more questions, but I'm about tapped out right now. So I think I'm going to wrap it up, get this edited and uploaded for you guys early on Patreon, and then tomorrow night, look for the bonus podcast. If you are listening for free on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you download podcasts, perhaps maybe in YouTube, that bonus episode's already up. It was up yesterday, but you're not on Patreon, so you didn't get to hear it early. So, boo-hoo, you suck. Now, what you have to do, is go to patreon.com/ironandwrestling and sign up for $3, and then you don't got to worry about missing out on the stuff early. You get to hear it for everybody else, and you get to be a part of a great community. I talk to you guys more than I do my own friends and family. Hey, Zach. See, my brother just called me a bitch. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do I talk to you more or the people on my Patreon more often? That's true. See, you just heard it from my brother. So, if you want to be closer to me than my own flesh and blood, you go to patreon.com/Iron Wrestling. You get a buttload of bonus content. You get to interact with me. I'll follow you back on social media. We'll do live chats once a month for at least an hour of my time where I'm going to talk about stuff that I never, ever, ever talk about on the recorded podcast. So that's some pretty big exclusivity there. Did I say that right? Exclusivity? Exclusivity? I'm going to try to stop saying words. Probably at some point, I'm going to start posting a little bit of the samplings of the book that I'm working very, very hard on. You're going to get behind the scenes footage, outtakes from Gregory Iron is Disarmed, which I'll have a new episode hopefully up by the end of the week for you guys on Patreon, an extended version, some extras, and then, of course, you get the free version on YouTube sometime in the near future. And yada, 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 stuff in the mail every quarter if you're on the $25 and up tier from Howard Animal Steel. Patreon.com/Iron Wrestling. Subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. Subscribe on YouTube. Leave some comments. Leave your opinion on the podcast on iTunes. Give us 5 stars. It creates visibility for the show. If you want to follow me on social media, you can find me at Gregory Iron or X. I'm not doing much there, so it's kind of a waste of time. So maybe follow me on Instagram at Gregory_Iron. Facebook.com/The Handicapped Hero. ProWrestlingTees.com/Gregory Iron. If you want to book me for pro wrestling, motivational speaking, or pro wrestling seminars, I'm not doing much right now, but I could take bookings for the future, not pro wrestling because that's really up in the air, but seminars, speaking engagements, virtual speaking engagements are an option. We can work something out. Send me a direct message and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I'm virtually attached to my phone at this point, so I will get back to you as soon as I can. You also have Cameo, where I can give you a shout out of some sort, and the GoFundMe is still up. Bio is on my Instagram. If you don't see it there, if you're not on Instagram, go through my page or just search Gregory Iron. I'm sorry, I burped. Wow. Gregory Iron GoFundMe. You'll find it inevitably. If you want to donate, cool. If you can just share it, that's cool too. Anything helps. Appreciate the support. It's keeping me afloat during this weird, interesting time in my life, but I'm going to make the best of it. We're going to make it on our own, right? We got to stick together here. That being said, thank you for the support. Thanks for tuning in, and look for those bonus podcasts and those bonus videos if you can't get enough of Gregory Iron content. So until next week, see you then. Kiss goodbye.